Okay. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rolling Swarm. We've got the clan leader Tomas from Legion clan, and also Arkbird, aka Ace, here with us as well. Just going to talk through the last game between Legion and Immortals of round 2 of the Blitz Event Community Euroleague. Looking forward to the playoffs, talking about the teams that are going through, and just generally discussing the league overall. So, Thomas, just to kick things off, final games versus Immortals. You won 3-1. How do you think the series went for you guys?
It went pretty much as expected. We expected, most of the games were pretty close, so we managed to basically, I think, outtrade them on most of the maps by just getting better positions. And yeah, I think we expected to win Malnovka, and we knew Canal would be a little bit tougher as it's a pretty unpredictable map these days, to be honest, because of the heavy meta and the rush meta. So yeah, it went pretty well for us anyways.
Yeah, in terms of Winter Malanovka, something Ark and I noticed very early on and in both scenarios is Legion, once again, excellent map control. I think in the first game you had a more boxed up into 25% of the map, the northeast corner, up around the mill area, behind the C cap. It's very interesting you bring up the rush meta. What does that actually mean to you? Maybe for some of the less experienced viewers at home.
Well, some maps are basically camp. Like, I'd say Castilla, you can't really rush, because if you rush, the other team spots you early with a batch head or something, and they'll just either get more cap advantage or they'll just punish you for crossing the open or something. Whereas Canyon's a little bit different. On Canyon, you have to rush one side, basically, or at least spread out on both sides. You can't just camp and try spot and then punish people for crossing something. Because while you can do that to a certain extent, it's always best just to, be aggressive somewhere, because if you camp on Canyon, you just lose so much map control, and the enemy team usually gets the upper hand.
And I guess that's because Canyon, you've got the very interesting dynamic where the center of the map is a great position to sort of spot the enemy, see what they're doing. But you also have a lot of space at the edges of the map and a lot of cover to rotate your team effectively through. And that's where you can, and we've seen it on a few games in the EuroLeague, where teams try and move their tanks in stealth round to one side and then push through and try and isolate enemy tanks on the other spawn. I think we saw you do that quite effectively versus Immortals on the second game. So you've come second in the round 2 of the EuroLeague, 1 point behind Win. This means that you're going to be facing off against Raid actually in the playoffs to make it through into the final matches. You came 2-2 against Raid earlier this evening. How can you recall the scores against Raid from earlier in the tour? Did you face them before?
No, we haven't faced them before. This was the first time.
Okay, so this is the first time meeting them. And looking at the maps actually that are coming up, the next games are going to be on Wednesday, the 21st of March. And it's going to be second versus third. So that's Legion versus Raid at 20 CET, Central European Time, 8 p.m. And it's a best of 5 playing Castilla, Dead Rail, and then Yamato Harbor. How do you feel about that? Are those good maps for you?
I'd say pretty campy maps, to be honest. I'd say Castilla and Dead Rail are pretty much the campiest maps in the current meta, for competitive maps at least. So I think it can be pretty close anyways, because no team really gets a big advantage at the start anyway, because teams don't usually meet at one side and push or something. It's usually about the cap and about the trading and positioning. Long range trades also happen a lot across, like from the windmill to the top of the hill and stuff like that. So I can't really predict anything, but we're pretty confident on those maps, and I think we should be able to beat Raid, but you can't underestimate them because it's also 2 of their good maps, and we've played them on those maps before, and they have some very good strats on those also. So it'll be interesting.
Both of those maps are ones that are really in the various different clan war tournaments that have been popping up, both run by the community and also run by Wargaming. I know for me, I love Dead Rail. A lot of clans like to use the 183. It's great seeing a 183 in Clan Wars. Nothing beats seeing a tank lose 1,000 hit points just for poking over a ridge. It's such a punishing map. and such a punishing tank. So Yamato Harbor would be the tiebreaker. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yamato's interesting as well. It's like it's pretty much since the very start of Yamato, yeah, when it came out, it's been in and out of the Clan War scene. We had it in the Pro League when we first made that, and then Wargaming had it in some of their tournaments, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't featured in Twister, and then it's now featured again some of the times. So it's like been in and out of the meta, and it's not a very common map, I'd say. It's been played sometimes, but not a whole lot by teams, including us. Like so, there's not really a lot of strats on Yamato, I think, which will also make interesting to see what Raid will actually do, and we'll have to improvise there as well.
Is Yamato? We were speaking earlier about map balance. Some spawns, for example, being stronger than others. Castilla was one you actually flagged in a previous conversation, saying that the north spawn is typically stronger than the south spawn.
Yeah.
Do you think that Yamato Harbor is balanced for the spawns, or is one spawn at a slight advantage?
I'd say it's pretty close to 50-50, but there is one or two positions like on south spawn that might be slightly better, but not majorly. But I think south is slightly better, possibly.
It's great to, because obviously Legion is at the top of the clan war game, and it's great to kind of get the opportunity to speak to you as the leader. And for me, I play a good game in randoms and in ranked, and I do a bit of clan war. But this level of map analysis, the fact that you can boil it down to a few key positions, for me, it's super interesting. I don't know about you, Ark. Is there anything that you want to kind of weigh in on here?
Well, I really kind of wanted to ask about the games between Raid and then Immortals. Most of all, I was really surprised about Raid taking T62As in the first game against you in Winter Malinovka. What are your thoughts on exactly the stray-away tanks that are not really used as much in Clan Wars, like T62A because of its lower gun depression values, or maybe STB or a pattern?
Well, 62 is actually making a comeback because it seems like at least every second update, almost every update these days, Wargaming just buffs it, like a slight buff every time, and it's like slowly getting back to where it was before. The only thing it's really lacking compared to what it had before when it was part of the meta, it wasn't as good as the 140 before, obviously, but it's just lacking a little bit of turret armor and a little bit of pen. But with using the pen boost, you lose some DPM, but you actually have pretty much the same pen as you used to have. So 62 is actually not that bad these days. But yeah, on a map like Roger Malnovka, I'd expect to see maybe either a bat chat or like maybe a tank with gun depression, like an STB to spot, where 62As are more for DPM and sometimes rotational pushes and stuff like that. I don't think they really used them for those. They just used them to hold the spawn, which worked okay for them. But we managed to push them with. I pushed them with the 50B, and then Blast was behind me, and the bat chat flanked them from the left, and we managed to create a crossfire onto them, and then their 57 came in as well. But it worked favorably for us. Like we got a better trade from it.
Yeah, and actually at that point when the T62A was engaging you in one-on-one combat, because there was not really supporting either side at that exact moment, at one point I did spot that the T62A was trying to get a shot off while you were retreating after a full clip loaded out, and he didn't have the gun depression though, so that was basically the base of me asking the question. But the next part is
that position, it just doesn't really work. Like you wouldn't really use it there because you'd want like a pattern maybe there because it has better gun depression. But like in other spots on the map, it would work a bit better. But Malnovka has a little bit of a hold down map, so I wouldn't really use 62As there. Like you said, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and the next question is about Winter Malinovka again. Not this time about Raid, but exactly about Immortal games. You actually were driving at one point an IS-4. I was really like not quite surprised, but then again, I kind of understood the opportunities. I really wanted to know your opinion on the position you took between A and B on that ramp up to the higher point of the map. How is the viewpoint from there, and how does it change your opinion on your team's positions, and what is actually the uh, positive and negative traits of that position you are using?
You mean the position like on the ice, yeah? That's like on the ramp up to the church, yeah? Is that one?
Yes.
Well, basically, if you want to have some sort of control of the bottom of the map, I think it's A base, you have to basically have at least one tank spotting it, and then one tank either on the ridge behind me at least, but preferably on the ice spot where I was, on the ramp, because in that way, if they try cap A, you can crossfire, and if they're even rotating there or rotating back or trying to snipe from the ledge that is in their spawn, the same ledge we have behind me, you can actually crossfire them quite well. And I was able to spot out when they were rotating also from C base, when they were rotating tanks to A, or the other way around. You can spot out quite well. And also, if they try push A while we're capping or something, I have very good shots, and I can just come in quite easy and cover whoever's capping and support.
Okay, before I give word to my commentator buddy Red over here, one last question about exactly the positioning. Quite interesting is that I've always seen you in positions that had a really great view over the map. Is that intentional, or is it just that you take a position, one of the positions on the map, for your team and just go there, or are you trying to take position to have a really great overview of what's happening around you?
Um, yeah, you depends. Sometimes I play a more aggressive role, and when we're pushing, I'd usually be one of the first to push in because, let's say, if I died, then I can kind of focus more on, trying to tell people what to do and leading. But also sometimes I just play a support role or just holding positions where like you said, I'm kind of more like in the middle of it, so I can kind of see both sides. Whereas if I was isolating, let's say holding one spot on, let's like Bini was in an ice 4 on the train, it makes it harder for me to see the rest of the map. So it's better for me to be either in the middle or somewhere near the front line, but not being isolated from the rest of the tank, so I can see what's going on basically.
Okay,
Oh,
and just to take back from Ark here now, and it's something I've always wondered. I know, for example, Win, they haven't actually told us who their clan war leader is. It's always something that I've considered. If for example, you're facing Legion in a clan war scenario, you kill Tomas, are you just making him stronger so he can kind of go and see what everyone's doing and not have to worry about what he's doing? Um, so it's quite good to hear that actually that is the case. That is something that's being taken into consideration by you sometimes in some of your strats. Looking forward now, assuming that you're able to dispatch Raid in the playoffs, it's probably quite likely that you're going to be coming up against Win, the Finnish clan, who is next. They've also won their group in the qualifiers for the Pro Tournament, and they actually beat Legion 3-1 in round 2 in the matchup. Do you have any comments on that series? How it went for you?
Yeah, well, the win series, it was like it was a mistake on our part probably, but it was more like it was Castilla, I believe, and I don't know the other map. I can't remember anymore. But I remember Castilla anyways, and we were like, let's just do some, basic strats and improvise from there because we had the professionals tournament coming up and we didn't know who we'd be playing yet, and Castilla and a couple of I think the other map also heavily featured in that match. So we didn't want to give anything, especially because it was on stream. Didn't really want to give anything away as the qualifiers for the pro season are quite important, and we didn't want to throw that away. So, and we used almost pretty much the exact same strat as we did against Alert the previous round. We used we 4-0'd Alert, but after that we played almost the exact same stuff against Win, and they probably did see the stream. And even if not, it's pretty predictable stuff. So,
Yeah.
kind of like if we use better strats, I believe it could have gone our way, but also at the same time, they played that very well as well. They did what they did was a very good counter to our strats that we did there because their strats were pretty inferior in our positioning also.
Mm-hmm. So the maps you played, it was Monday the 12th of March. It was Desert Stands and
Oh yeah,
Castilla.
Desert Sound was the other one. Yeah, yeah.
So is there? I know, for example, clans that I've played for in the past, there is some sort of element with scouting out your opponents, especially when you've got games that are being streamed. And it's something we're seeing more of nowadays with spectators, for example, in the qualifiers and spectators in the Euroleague. who are streaming from the ghost camera, as well as from like kind of third person over the players' tanks. Is that something that's becoming an asset for you in terms of how you're planning for opponents? Do you kind of pour through the game footage a lot to work out how best to counter certain things, or to kind of anticipate what might be coming by the opponent?
Well, we sometimes, obviously, we sometimes see streams of other matches and stuff like that, so we do take that into account, obviously, but we also try to heavily focus on not just countering what they might do, but on the way that a team plays. Let's say a team has a specific passive play style or a cap. There's like several play styles. Let's say you have aggressive, yeah, going in, trying to rush one side, or just trying to get aggressive positions, maybe getting caps also. Then you have just going for the caps and then holding. Then you have map control, and then you also have like just very passive, trying to bait people to rushing you or something. Yeah. So we kind of try see how a team is playing, even by training against them, seeing them play in other tourneys, and basically, in general, we try analyze how a team plays, and then if you break them down, you can usually see what they're good at and what they're worse at, and what you can take advantage of. And then they might know our strats as well, so we might have to change up something. And
so yeah, being streamed on a more regular basis, is this forcing you to adapt, to have more kind of options, and different kind of potential setups that you can bring to the table?
yeah, it forces us to use weaker strats sometimes, especially if we're not playing let's say we're not playing if the match is not super serious, if it's not like vital to us, then we might not use our complete best strats that we want to save for, let's say, a final or a very important game. But like we're pretty used. We're probably the most streamed clan so far, because I used to stream a lot on our own channel. A lot of our trainings and a lot of tourneys and stuff I used to stream, so we're pretty used to it at this point. Like having to adapt and having to. It can also be an advantage, like in one way. Let's say a team is expecting you to do this. You've been doing same strat for 2 months. Suddenly you pull out something different. It can confuse them, or
And
even
you, mhm.
yeah, or even changing your lineup for that match, and they'll be like, "Oh no, they're doing something different." You can still do the same thing. You can really play a lot of mind games with people while doing that.
Okay, that is, for me, it's always great, and especially this is all happening on the European server, and of course, all the top European server clans are they're looking to the professionals tournament, so it's good to hear you keeping your cards close to your chest on this more informal community tournaments, and we're going to be seeing the streamers on the professional tournament going to be showing us probably some stronger stuff from you. Not to say that everything that we haven't seen so from here has been anything but top notch. And do you keep tabs? I'm asking for me now. Do you keep tabs on the international clans? Do you have your eye set on the next Twister Cup? Are you sort of keeping a handle on like the meta in NA, Russia, Asia, for example, or is that just too far in the distance at the moment?
Well, during the year, let's say we see a big tourney in Russia or even NA, like a big community tourney like Pro League. I actually streamed the NA Pro League before a few times to help them out, and I helped set it up. So I kind of got some insight into how NA plays. And the RU server, we also watch some of the big tourneys, like this one, for example, the spring season. We have just watched some games, see how they're doing, see what the meta is like there, because you can always learn from other servers also, and you can see, um, how other servers are playing. But we wouldn't specifically be trying to learn. We wouldn't be trying too much to see what, let's say, C4 are doing. But at the same time, it's never a bad idea to have some sort of idea like how it's going in the other servers. Just like on EU, even though we might not be playing a certain clan right now, or even let's say even we're not going to be playing, you know, other than the 7 clans in the professional tourney, we won't be playing anyone in a wargaming tourney for a good few months. It's still a good idea to see how they're playing, let's say, and kind of have a certain idea, anyways.
If I may, right now, one question is I want to ask is uh, about the tactics. Are they
Sorry.
ever set like that set in stone, or are they like always something initial, something quite basic, and then you just go on from there and you just use the flexibility and the scouting abilities of some light tanks that, as you see, sometimes clients don't really take scouts and they pay for it dearly, but other times they don't use them properly. So, what are your ideas behind that?
I believe it's always important to have a flexible strat. But then again, some strats can be quite good, even though they're set in stone because they can pretty much work against anything. But I think it's always good to be a little bit flexible at least. Like you said with the scouts, it's you usually don't want to abandon scouting completely, but you don't want to focus your whole strat around scouting either. If that doesn't work out, scouting doesn't work out for you, like spotting and stuff, trying to spot the rotations, then you have to rely on other stuff as well.
Okay,
and how about like questions I want to ask is that the maps for me, for example, when I see all these tournaments played out, I don't quite see a lot of maps being quite suited for scouting from the front, like in a way that you can go around some positions after you've seen that there's no one there and like scout out the whole enemy team. Uh, so, like, what are your opinions? Do maps need to be changed a bit so that scouts can penetrate the defense zone of the opponents, or is it okay for now and the lineup is not always like needed to be scouted fully by the scouts?
I believe some apps are a bit too small. Some apps are okay in size, but like compared to PC, some apps are very small, and that doesn't really offer you a lot of rotational power even, and also less spotting and scouting potential, like you say. So I'd like to see some apps have, let's say, more routes to be able to get into different positions and more escape routes also for the scout tanks, light tanks, usually Batcha or a leopard, let's say, or STB, whatever, spotting. It would be nicer to have more paths basically on every map to be able to do that. But a lot of maps are also pretty well balanced, so I can't really complain about those. So it's just some maps, but I think Wargaming are doing a decent job adding new maps that are big, except with the exception of maybe Dynasty, which is I don't know, it's a strange map. But the other map that's been shown that will be coming soon into the game, that's a very big map, and that looks very interesting for light tanks. And the naval map is pretty big as well, and pretty good for light tanks also. So I think they're doing a good job bringing more competitive maps that are good for the rotational plays and scouting and stuff like that.
Okay, and I think one final question. We're probably going to have to wrap up fairly soon. One final question. What's your favorite map? A nice simple one to end on.
That's not a simple question. But let me think about that.
Like maybe not even for Clan Wars, just the map that you're happiest to see in general when you're playing. Something that you really enjoy.
It used to be mines before it got nerfed, but I'm sorry, but they nerfed mines. That there's no other way to put it.
Well, I remember back in the day, the qualifiers for the Twister 2016. There used to be the pushing strat, getting people shunted up
there used to
onto
be
the
so
top.
many strats on that map. It was really good, especially with the med meta. You could rotate everywhere. You could push any side. You could push through the bloody river if you wanted. But that was one of our strats actually. Like you could push around the right side of the hill, the left side, the main entrance, the hill, the lighthouse. There was all. But I'd say in the current meta, for me personally, I think I like Fort Despair quite a bit. But also it's probably not even our best Clan Wars map, but it's a decent map. And then Clan Wars wise, it's probably too hard to choose. So yeah, Fort Despair is pretty good, and Canal is also pretty decent because it's a big map.
And 4 caps, so a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tomas, for speaking for us again, second time this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch you play Raid and then Immortals this evening. And we're definitely looking forward to watching Legion play Raid again Wednesday, 23rd of March, 8 p.m. Central European time. Best of luck, Tomas, in this tournament and also in the Pro tournament that's going to be coming up soon. Cheers. Thank you very much. And I'd like to big shout out to the organizers of the Blitz event community and the Euroleague, my mate and commentator, Ark, and also Gan for running the stream for us. I know we're keeping him up late, so he's probably hating on us right now. But cheers to all. Very much appreciated. Thank you very, very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, guys.